Spurs stifled and suffocated PSG with 26% possession and very nearly won the Super Cup on Wednesday, but it's going to be a very different test against Burnley in the Premier League. Play the music, it's back, you'll never stop this flame. Oh, actually, that's gone now, isn't it? RIP the Stop This Flame era. But we are back. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. This is how Spurs must set up to break down Burnley. If you are new, please do subscribe on the march to 15,000 subscribers. I hope you enjoyed the last video where we talked about Thomas Frank's blueprint for the bigger games off the back of the Super Cup. But today, against Burnley, or whenever you're watching this, is going to be a very, very different test. Now, Spurs haven't faced many low blocks, haven't had to break many down in pre-season under Thomas Frank so far, but Burnley are coming to Tottenham for one thing. Probably a point. If they can snatch a win, obviously that's ideal, but they want to be compact. They want to keep a clean sheet. That's the one thing that they are coming for. And how are Spurs going to go about breaking that down? Now, let's talk about Burnley here in the red. We've seen them in pre-season under Scott Parker. Obviously, last season, 15 goals conceded. We know they're going to be compact at the back. Obviously, they've lost TJ Riley and Trafford, but they've still kept Maxim Estev. What we've seen them do in pre-season a little bit, from what I've seen, is kind of almost set up in this 4-2-3-1 shape, right? But what they'll do, especially with Kyle Walker kind of coming into the team here as the right back, they shift into a 5. And I think it's, forgive me, I can't remember his name. Is it Sonna? I think the right back, the right winger almost is where he's kind of been playing, will then tuck into a 5, and then it will almost be like a 5, sort of 5-4-1. Very compact, very deep, very difficult to break down. So how do Spurs go about doing that? Now, you'd imagine that even without Eze and Savinho potentially coming through the door, players that are going to massively, massively help in these kind of situations. When you think of Savinho's crossing ability, Eze's ability to kind of pick up space in the half spaces, the rotation that we're probably going to see between those two, the crossing ability that is there. Obviously, we haven't got that. So we're going to have to make do without traditional natural creativity. So how do Spurs go about doing that? One thing that I have proposed is Spurs play 4-4-2. We do it. We go 4-4-2, right? And play Richarlison and Solanke up top together. And maybe potentially give Pat Matasar a little bit of a rest in this game. Now, I'm not saying that we definitely do that. I think Sarr, his energy again is going to be massively important tomorrow. But I think this is a game where you can afford to play. Maybe we see Bergvall come in potentially alongside Bentancur, two more tempo setting midfielders. Bergvall is a player that will want to take a risk against a sort of low block. That energy, that ability to switch the play, I think you're going to want in there, especially without Spurs' lack of a deep passer. I think Bentancur and Bergvall is actually quite a nice combination for this sort of game. You just want them kind of sitting deeper, switching the play, recycling possession when Spurs do get into the final third and have Burnley pinned back. Say if they're in this kind of 5-back shape here, right, sort of narrow, compact, tucking in, they're going to encourage us to get the ball out wide because they feel like they can deal with that when it comes in the box. That's why Porro's quality of delivery is going to be important. And that's partly also why I'm proposing playing two strikers in Richarlison and Solanke. Richarlison played so well, worked his socks off in that game in the week, but also Richarlison has that knack, if we just move everyone back here a little bit, of finding a little bit of space in the box. Now, what you want to see from Spurs in terms of shape tomorrow, when Burnley are kind of camped in, you want your centre-backs obviously nice and high. You want everyone kind of in the half. We'll sort these out in a second. But you want the centre-halves nice and high. You're kind of two tempo-setting midfielders just in front of them, staying a little bit deeper to kind of switch the play, just keep it ticking. Porro nice and wide on that right-hand side. The space for him to get those quality balls into the box. Then I think Mohamed Kudus probably should play on the right, but have the licence to drift into these kind of half spaces here. Combination and rotation between those two. Different angles of crossing as well. Kudus coming in off the right for those in-swingers. Also in the pocket for those little clip crosses. Porro, the out-swinging kind of deliveries as well. But again, he's so dangerous from crossing from a narrow kind of position. Porro and Kudus interchanging nicely there. Again, you want your midfielders high, squeezing. Jed Spence. I think we should see Wilson Odobert come in for this game probably. You want that 1v1 threat out there. Also, I think as well, you want him kind of rotating into these half spaces here. But Solanke, I think, almost just playing off Richarlison a little bit when you're in build-up. You've got two strikers that you can obviously kind of go a bit more direct to and play off that way, but we're not going to need to do that. We're going to be camped in Burnley's half for the majority of the game. So I think to have two aerial threats like Richarlison and Solanke in the box with the crossing quality that we've got, especially on this right-hand side, would be nice. But also Solanke can drop that little bit deeper and be our playmaker, I think, in these kind of situations. I think one argument maybe would be to, and I could see this potentially happening, is play a front three of behind Richarlison. I think Richarlison will definitely start. I think he's got obviously more minutes in the tank, more freshness than Solanke, which has been really good to see. But I think one argument would be to play Richarlison and almost, I know obviously there's been a lot of chat about Matisse Tell. Is he going to be in the right kind of almost frame of mind to play in this game? And you'd hope that he would be. I feel tremendously sorry for him. It's a terrible situation, and any Spurs fan that's given him abuse in whatever form isn't really a proper Spurs fan in my eyes. And obviously there's been a lot of non-Spurs fans get involved in the pylon as well. It's just, all disgusting. But I think Matisse Tell, there's an argument to maybe play him and kind of play if we use this side of the board just quickly, have Richarlison, Tell on the left, Kudus and Odobert. Because I think one thing that you will see between these guys, again, Tell you can kind of play two up front as well if you want. You can kind of see him being used as a striker. Odobert moves out there, Kudus moves out there, and you kind of get the same principles as what we're seeing down here. But also, Tell's crossing ability, I think, actually is one of his biggest strengths against lower blocks. Like, though, I know you don't necessarily want him high and wide. You do want him facing the goal in more dangerous areas. But there are going to be games like this that don't necessarily suit his biggest strengths. But with the injuries that we've got, almost like a needs must, have him on the left hand side over here, swinging those in, swinging crosses in. So maybe there's potential to play him with Richarlison as that threat in the box. But I would probably prefer Spurs to play with Solanke and Richarlison tomorrow. And I think Odobert is that 1v1 threat out wide, constantly going at the Burnley fullback, testing Kyle Walker in that inside right-back channel as well, and trying to get as many balls into the box as possible. And I think that's the way that you're kind of going to break them down and win this game, because you get the creativity, you get the playmaking ability from Solanke when he's playing off Richarlison, his combination in those kind of tighter spaces. But I think you could make the argument to maybe use Odobert a little bit more centrally as that 10, Kudus on the right, those two kind of rotating, and Tell out on the left. Again, Tell then gets the licence to come inside and play off of Richarlison as well, with Odobert holding the width. So I think with the situation that Spurs find themselves in, with the lack of natural creativity, especially in those central areas, I think those two could be quite effective ways to do it, almost play with a 4-4-2. Now, we've seen Spurs kind of set up out of possession with a 4-4-2, with Sarr going and pressing high with Richarlison in pre-season. And again, you get the benefit of Sarr's box crashing ability in these kind of games as well. Potentially, if you were to play him off Richie, I think you could maybe see. I think Sarr has become so integral to this team that I think he will play. But in a game like this, I'm not necessarily sure you need him. And I think Bentancur and Bergvall in midfield, just to keep churning the ball over, keep recycling, I think would work quite nicely. But I think he probably will use Sarr. Again, maybe those underlapping runs from Spence as well, I think on that left-hand side would be quite important, and allow Odobert or Tell, whoever plays on that left-hand side, to keep that width. Again, I think we'll see plenty of combination between those two. But yeah, I think 4-4-2, I think, is what I'm leaning towards with Richarlison and Solanke, to be honest. Gives you dual box threat, gives you that little bit of a playmaker in Solanke to drop a little bit deeper and facilitate things, and allow Richie to attack the box and find space, which he's so good at doing in cramped penalty areas. We saw against Nottingham Forest in that Premier League game under Ange towards the back of end of last season. His ability so many times to fashion chances, headed chances, just finding that little bit of space. I think Richie could be really, really important for us, and I think Pedro Porro is going to hold the key as well in terms of those crosses from the right-hand side into that area. It's going to be a difficult test. Burnley are going to be compact. They're going to be very hard to break down, but that's why I think we do it. I think, again, Kudus with those half-space crosses is going to be key. But yeah, 4-4-2. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll be back on Sunday after the game to break it down. I hopefully will have my laptop back with me by then as well, so we can do a proper breakdown with screenshots and everything. I'm really looking forward to being back at the Lane. Once again, thank you so much for your tremendous support throughout the summer, especially over the last few weeks where we've had to kind of adapt and do things a little bit differently. So I massively appreciate you guys. A lot more content, going to scale up massively on the channel. Make sure to go follow the TikTok pages as well. Links will be in the description. Very close to 100,000 followers on my main account. So if you guys aren't following on TikTok, please make sure to do that. Ben Bowman THFC is my second account as well, on the road to 70,000 followers on there as well. I've got a new Spurs podcast dropping very, very soon. I don't want to give too much away, but that's coming. New project coming. Make sure to go and subscribe to FC Bottle Job. Darren Doing is going to return as well when I get my laptop back. So much happening, massive season ahead, which I'm very much excited for, and I hope to bring you guys along with me on the journey as much as possible, and I hope for a very good season. I'm predicting that Spurs will win tomorrow 2-0. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give me a score prediction, man of the match prediction as well, and I'll see you in the next one. Up the Spurs.